It's time for bookkeeping, beer, and BS. Business stuff. What's like you said, you want to limit the consulting a little bit. I imagine in any service business, we do this. I want less and more valuable clients is a strategy. I want bigger tickets, more valuable clients. So I have to do less work, make a bigger impact. I'm curious where your work life is going, where your investments and your strategies are going, not to unveil everything, but what's coming up in the next year or two? Anything that you got in the works or anything super cool you're working on?
No, I've got to a place in life where, everything I got's paid for, and I've got money to invest every year now, and I'm investing that in land. I see land as the safest investment in the world at the moment, way better than the stock market. So
no doubt about that.
I'm just,
my bookkeeping business needs an investment, Don. I'll call you after the show. I got all kinds of investment ideas for you.
Well, do you have all kinds of money? Because if you do, I don't know where to put it.
I thought you were trying to invest. I was just saying I need money. You got money. Let's talk.
Well, I already know what I want to do with it. I want to buy more land, and there's only so many acres in the world today. There's not going to be any more in any time in the future.
Any more of it.
And there's more and more people trying to get that limited acreage, and the price is only going up. Just the appreciation on land over the last 40 years on average has been 7% a year.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and then you get almost like a dividend every year if it's farmland, and you get a payment every year for the rent on the farmland, plus it's appreciating. There's no safer investment. So that's kind of what I'm focused on, is trying to secure as much land, in particular farmland, before I retire. The income from that will basically go a long ways towards my retirement, but also then I can leave a legacy to my kids and grandkids. That land will produce income forever as long as it stays in the family. So I'm trying to build a legacy through land here at this time. That's just something that started here in the last year or so, as I've gotten everything paid off and my income has risen to a point where I could do that.
Let's flip it to hunting. What do you, I'm gonna make a statement first, and there's probably a question wrapped into it, and that's just a sign that I'm a bad show host and I don't know how to organize my thoughts. One of the things Ben and I run into is this hunting private land versus public land. And private land is sweet. You get to manipulate it more, right? You get to control it more. You get to try to grow bigger deer, and that's super cool. But it's constrained. Whereas you look at public land and you have all these opportunities to go all these different places, and you get to spread out and learn new things and go to places you haven't seen before. As you've matured in your hunting personality, you've got this property to manage. And like I said earlier, you hardly have time to manage that. And so there's a game to be played there, a game that dudes like us like to play, which is, how do I manage this property to grow the biggest bucks? But you're not shy about going and chasing big bucks wherever the big bucks are too. How do you and that's its own game, right? There's every time you go to a new piece of property, that there's a lot of fun in that. And at the end of the day, I mean, like you said, your brand is also built on shooting big bucks. Ben and I just go running around having a good time. So the goal for us is fill the freezer, have a really good time. That's about it. For you, how do you balance those two games? Because the game of growing big bucks on your own property is sure as hell different than the game of going and finding big bucks and figuring out a piece of property and hunting it. Which is more exciting to you? And is that changing over time?
It is changing over time. When I started managing my own property, I never dreamed I would be able to raise a 200-inch buck on the farm, and now I've done it twice. And on this property that I own today, any buck that shows up here, I can kill him. And I hope that don't sound arrogant, because I don't mean it that way. It's just that this property is, I know it well enough, and I've set it up in such a way that if a buck comes here and spends much time at all on this farm, I'm not saying I can go out and do it in a week, but in the course of a full season, I can get him shot. When you go out and you hunt a buck on public land or just permission property, that's a bigger challenge. And the bigger the challenge, the bigger the reward, in my opinion. I'll be the first guy to tell you that me shooting a deer on my home farm is not near the challenge as it is for me to go shoot a deer on same caliber deer on public land. And the biggest challenge is just finding one. It is so difficult to find a giant on public land. The situation we was talking about, that wasn't even close to my home. That was a 4-hour drive for me to get to that piece of public land. And that's how much ground I'm covering trying to find giant deer. In any given year, I'm going to probably have trail cameras in 4 states looking for giants. I'm going to have them in Iowa, Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio, just looking for giants. I mean, I've literally got probably $25,000 worth of trail cameras. And that's not an exaggeration. I've got them things all over the place.
From a bookkeeping standpoint, I just want to say it's a little different from you because you can write that shit off. The rest of us are just paying full price, Don.
Yeah, you do make a good point. You do make a point, but that just I brought that up to basically show the extent that I go to find these giants. I'm covering a lot of miles. I mean, from Iowa to Ohio to Eastern Ohio. There's a lot of miles between there.
No doubt.
And I'm telling you, finding a giant when I'm talking a giant, I'm talking, 200 incher. Finding a 200 incher on public land, that is people don't realize how rare that is.
Yeah.
Very, very, very rare. And
go ahead, Charlie.
when you find one, then killing him is way harder than it is on a managed piece like my farm. I'm telling you, I'll be the first guy to tell you that me killing a big one on my farm is not near the challenge as it is for me to kill a big one on permission properties. But here's the thing that everybody misses when they want to criticize me. If I look at my top 6 bucks on the wall, the top 6 that I've killed in 46 years, those top 6 bucks came from 5 different properties. They didn't all come from my one farm. They came from 5 different properties. 2 of them came from my farm. The other 4 came from 4 different properties. And those other 4 properties, every one of them was a permission property. I didn't pay a penny for a lease. None of those properties had a food plot on it. 0 habitat work had been done on any of them. All I did was knock on a door and ask for permission. And I think that's what people like the guy we're talking about misses. He wants to blast me because 2 of my top 6 came from my home farm. Well, what about the other 4? They came from 4 different properties.
Hey, what's up, business nerd? Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you learned a heck of a lot watching that episode. Do me a favor, subscribe right down here. And if you really like what you saw, you got more goods right here. Check out this one or check out this one and do this. Go subscribe. Appreciate you. Work smarter, work harder, go earn yourself some pride. Catch you on the next one.